What's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. And today in this video I want to address the supposed double standards that the mainstream media have when it comes to portraying missing victims who are white and those who are black, because I found the conversation that I've seen online to be very interesting. Now, ever since the incident that took place, the whole country has been, and still is to be fair, in uproar, which has also started another debate regarding the gender war. And since then, black people have now asked the question as to why is it that there's always seems to be a massive uproar whenever the victim is white. Particularly in this case, how it was a white woman who was the victim, but there seems to be silence whenever there's a black woman. And there was a few posts which talked about the amount of black women who were found to be missing over the period between 2018 and 2019. The article that you can see on the screen is a snapshot which talks about it. I'll also post a link in the description box talking about the number of missing black victims. And people have obviously been screaming the obvious. For me, the answer is actually very simple and quite straightforward. White people care about their own race and what happens to their own people, regardless of the race of the person who committed the crime. That's simple. It doesn't matter to white people that the alleged victim, whoever it was, because at this moment of time when it comes to the incident of Sarah Everard, we don't know exactly who committed the crime. Someone's been arrested, but it didn't matter to them that the victim was white. So that the person who committed the crime, was white. It doesn't matter. It was seen as a horrific incident that took place, and they were rightly outraged about it. It didn't matter who committed the crime. And this is the clear difference when it comes to us for the most part. Because when it comes to us, when it comes to responsibility and accountability for whatever horrific situation, incident that takes place in our communities, whenever it involves two black people, what are the typical responses that you hear when you ask the simple question, why are we seeing this in the communities? Especially last year during the whole BLM movement was kicking off. Well, the only reason that happens is because of proximity, and all races commit more crimes against each other because they're likely to live with each other. So I'm like, you see the kind of mental gymnastics that takes place. Whenever the situation, you bring up the stats about how many more victims suffer maybe abuse, rape, murder, and the victims are black and black, it doesn't matter to them. You know the reason why? Because that's not the narrative that they want to push. As if just because the victim and the perpetrator were black, that's not a reason to address horrific crime. We see it with knife crime, gun crime, rape, the rest of it. It doesn't matter. And that's the difference, because for white people, it doesn't matter who committed the crime, whether it was a white person or a black person. That's somebody of their own ilk and kind that got killed in a horrific way. So quite rightly, they should be caring about their own people enough to create an uproar as we saw today. Because again, when it comes to us, we only care about certain situations that prove the narrative about who commits the crime. If the crime was committed by somebody of another race, guess what? Now we have the uproar. Now we have the outrage. Now we have everyone coming here screaming, singing, shouting, protesting, all that other stuff. But when it involves the same race of person, black on black crime as we call it, what is it? For the most part, met with silence. And you only have to look, if you don't believe me, at the Black Lives Matter UK Twitter page to see exactly what I'm talking about. They only tweet about incidents that happens, which guess what? Talks about situations where it involves a black person, either in society from an educational, where it involves the wider society, which is white, or an incident that took place, whether it be police brutality, whether it be, again, some crime statistics, rape, murder, whenever it is, when it's somebody committed the crime that is non-black. And it's crazy, because when you look at the amount of reports that I see on a weekly basis about murders and things that happen in these black communities, in these urban areas, I'm like, why aren't you guys posting about that? Because you guys care about black lives, right? Black lives matter. Cool. So why not post about all the situations that happen with black crime? Especially when we look at the statistics and who actually takes the most black lives and who actually is committing the most amount of harm to black people. But no, that's not what they focus on. And this is the reason why I'm sitting back thinking, are you guys really not understanding why is it that white people react the way that they do? Because I'm just like this is just crazy. But every single time I hear it, I always think to myself, why are we searching as well for the validation of others? Because that's what this is. We are searching for another race of people to love you more than you love yourself. And that is the reality of what I see when I hear this kind of stuff. Oh, why aren't the mainstream media? Why would the white mainstream media report on crimes, which whenever they bring crimes to you, you guys don't care unless it feeds a narrative. Whereas white people, it doesn't matter who it is. A white crime is a crime. It doesn't matter. Their people are killed. It doesn't matter how their person died or who they died by. It's still their own people. So you just can't expect another race of people to love you more than you love yourself. But that's what I was like. Of course I expected the mainstream media to pick this up. Of course I did. Because when it comes to black people, we only care about when it comes to certain situations. We only care about that. We only do. Let's be honest. Let's be real. And it's the same when white people are always trying to talk to us about lyrics and our music. Because there's a clear link here when you talk about the lyrics and our music and our culture. The mainstream media have tried to bring this up to discuss the links between, you call it misogyny, the violence in the music culture, the lyrics, and the clear links between what the black community does and how they try and at least perceive themselves and how they try and act in accordance to a lot of these people, how they rap in their lyrics. But again, guess what we do? Oh, nah, it got nothing to do with that. It's racism. It gets met with complete silence, complete distractions, diversion tactics, and it's not even taken too seriously. But look what happens when it impacts on the white community. You only had to remember not too long ago that incident that took place. And for life of me, I can't remember the name of the victim. But they died and it was linked to drill music. And what did the white community do? Do you really think they was like sitting back thinking, I wonder if the music actually is the reason why they committed the crime? I wonder if there's an actual deeper link here. Nope. They will get to that, don't get me wrong. But what do they do at first? They will make sure they ban drill music. They'll put limits on that. They'll make sure you can't say certain content, certain lyrics. They will make sure at any means possible they can prevent this from happening again. They can prevent the situation from corrupting youth. Because it doesn't take a rocket scientist. When you listen to the lyrics, when you see what they actually say about how they want to kill each other up, to really understand how this damages the mind. But only for black people now, we seem to have this, again, this is probably due to our IQ levels, I'm just going to keep it real, we seem to have this mental disconnect. And that's because, guess what? White people care about their own, they care about their future, and the kids are their future. So they care about how they care about their own people. And why wouldn't they be? You should too. This is the whole point. You should care about yourself more than anyone else does, regardless of who was the actual, who committed the crime. It should be irrelevant. There is nothing wrong in wanting to protect your own. Maybe we should start doing this also. That's my whole point. Forget about the mainstream media for a second. If we had a proper community, it would, for the most part, it can't for all, don't get me wrong, it would be a self-governing community. I always will compare ourselves to the Asian community in the UK because they're an ethnic minority just like we are. They're not that much bigger than in terms of percentage-wise as we are if you look at the census. But what happens in their community? Why is it you really hear or see anything? Because they, for the most part, govern themselves. They have their own lot of issues. Nothing's a utopia. But they govern themselves. Maybe we should start doing that. That's all I have for today. Let me know your thoughts on this issue. Until next time, I'm out.